Here.
Gary Pavlik,
Here.
Christopher Cameron,
Here.
Gloria Mendoza, Sam Caliendo,
Here.
Lori Vinacourt,
Here.
Allison Thomas,
Here.
Angela Jones-Vaughn, Susan Kennedy.
Here.
Thank you.
Let's rise for invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Lord, we ask for your guidance today as we consider matters that will affect the safety and welfare of many people in our county. Help us to listen with open minds to matters that are important before us and to act on those matters that will benefit those who reside in our area. Keep our minds open and alert, our hearts compassionate, and comments charitable. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Zoning Commission of Palm Beach County has convened at 9 a.m. in the Vista Center, Ken Rogers Hearing Room, 2300 North Jog Road, West Palm Beach, Florida, to consider proposed applications and staff recommendations pursuant to the Palm Beach County Unified Land Development Code. The Commission takes final action regarding Class B conditional uses, subdivision variances, and Type 2 variances, and issues advisory recommendations on other requests. The Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County will conduct a public hearing at 301 North Olive Avenue, West Palm Beach, Florida, in the Jane M. Thompson Memorial Chambers, 6th floor, on applications not subject to Zoning Commission final action. Zoning hearings are quasi-judicial in nature and must be conducted to afford all parties due process. The Board of County Commissioners has adopted procedures for conduct of quasi-judicial hearings to govern the conduct of such proceedings. The procedures include the following. Any communication with commissioners which occurs outside the public hearing must be fully disclosed at the hearing. Applicants and persons attending the hearing may question commissioners regarding their disclosures. Such questions shall be limited solely to the disclosures made at the hearing or the written communications made a part of the record at the hearing. Any person representing a group or organization must provide documentation that the person representing the group has the actual authority to do so regarding the matter before the Commission. Any person who wishes to speak at the hearing will be sworn in and may be subject to cross-examination. The applicant and county staff may cross-examine witnesses. Any other persons attending the hearing may submit cross-examination questions, including follow-up questions, to the chair, who will conduct the examination. The scope of cross-examination is limited to the facts alleged by the witness in relation to the application. Public comment is encouraged, and all relevant information should be presented to the Commission in order that a fair and appropriate decision can be made. We have proof of publication.
Yes, we do.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll move to the swearing in.
All those wishing to testify or speak on today's items, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And next, approval of the minutes.
A motion to approve the December 4th, 2025 minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any amendments to the agenda?
We have a few amendments to our agenda, starting with item 1, DOA CAW 2025-00727 Drexel Apartments, modifying the agenda on B and C to correct the acreage to 10 acres, modifying the staff report to correct the request to match the legal ad, and the modification of the Type 2 waiver use limitation condition number 2. On item number 2, ZCA 2025-00966 Hibiscus Gardens, we do have a correction on the agenda relative to staff's recommendation. It only references C1 and C2, but it is a recommendation on all 3 exhibits. Amend the Class A conditional use density bonus condition in C3 for transfer development rights, condition number 1 and condition number 4. We are also working with the applicant on all petition condition number 2, slightly tweak the language on that one. And on the regular agenda, item number 3, ZCA 2025-1317 Hagen Ranch Assemblage. We've included correspondence that was received after publication of the report, and then modifying the Class A conditional use townhouses. Exhibit C2 for all petition number 1 to correct the reference to the plan. We are also working with the applicant on all petition number 2 for the slightly tweaking of that language. Under D, ULDC revisions, item 5, freestanding emergency department. We had a correction in the table for the minimum parking. It included an additional row that shouldn't have been there, so it's removed. We're only modifying the parking calculation to add in freestanding emergency department. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any requests to pull items from consent? None? Okay. And we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll start to my left. Any conflicts or recusals?
None.
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 I have none.
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 No.
Okay, moving right along. Guess we're ready for the consent agenda items.
Correct. We have no items for postponement, so if we could start with disclosures for consent items, which is item 1 and 2.
Let's start on my right. Any disclosures?
No.
No.
I have none.
I have none.
I spoke to Meredith Lee on item 1 and Mike Sanchez on item 2.
No disclosures.
Okay. So we need a motion.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Move on to item 3.
Yes, item number 3, ZCA 2025-01317 is the Hagen Ranch Assemblage. The request before the board is an official zoning map amendment to rezone the property from AR to RS, as well as a Class A conditional use to allow townhouse units. I don't know if we have any cards.
No cards.
We have no cards.
Would you like presentations from the applicant or staff?
Has anybody any questions or need to have the presentation?
No.
I think we're good. We've reviewed the package.
I'll just double check the applicant. Do you need to make any presentations?
Good morning, Wendy Timla with Urban Design Studio. No, we don't need to make any additional presentation.
Okay.
So we're ready for a motion.
Disclosures?
Oh, sorry. Any disclosures on this item?
None.
I spoke to Kevin Tuba.
I also spoke to Ken and Wendy Tuma.
And I had a conversation with Ken and Wendy Tuma.
None.
None.
No.
Okay, now we're ready for a motion.
I'll motion to recommend approval of item 3A.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I'll motion to recommend approval of item 3B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, item number 4, ZV 2025-00959, the Palm Beach Park of Commerce, Plat 35G. The request before the board is a Type 2 variance. This is to allow an additional 5 feet of easement overlap and a right-of-way buffer. The easement is existing. Staff is recommending approval. Again, I'm not sure if we have any cards on this. If not, would you like any presentations, or if the agent has anything additional to add?
Yes, Commissioner.
I think since this is our final decision on this, if we could get a brief presentation on this, that'd be great.
Okay.
So we'll turn it over to the applicant.
No, that's not on, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, Joni Brinkman with Urban Design Studio on behalf of the applicant. I'll go through this fairly quickly, fairly straightforward. The parcel is located within the Palm Beach Park of Commerce. It's internal to the PIPD. A blow up of it here. It's located at the northwest corner of Commercial Circle and Corporate Road North. This is the existing site improvements as shown. There is a concurrent site plan amendment going through the process right now, which is administrative in nature. And when we started that process, the new abstracted survey resulted in identifying an easement that had been recorded after the initial site plan and building permit were approved and the existing building constructed. So this is basically a housekeeping task to cure that situation. The site's about a little over 5.5 acres. Again, it's in the Park of Commerce PIPD with industrial zoning, land use in the PIPD zoning. It is in the United Technologies Corporation overlay and in the urban suburban tier. A little bit of the history. Again, this parcel has site plan approval on it previously for industrial uses, all permitted, including outdoor storage, contractor storage. It was approved back in 2005 with some amendments back in 2006. The proposed site plan variance that's included in your staff report shows the updated layout. The proposed new buildings include the repair and maintenance building of a little over 7,800 square feet and a second one over 5,800 square feet. There is an existing building on the site that will not be impacted, as well as the existing parking along the right-of-way in question. The request, again, is to allow a 10-foot encroachment of a utility easement into a 15-foot right-of-way buffer along Corporate Road North, where typically only a 5-foot is allowed. And as a result of that, that reduces the available planting area to 5 feet. So we are planting as many shrubs as we possibly can in that segment of the FP&L easement. The rest of them will be relocated along that buffer outside the encumbered area. Just a little bit of justification. The FP&L easement that we're speaking of is recorded after the site plan was approved at a depth of 10 feet along approximately 380 feet of the Corporate Road North right-of-way. The building permit was approved, which included inspections by both landscape and the approval of the power release for the existing building. All required plant material, again, will be provided in the unencumbered areas of the right-of-way buffer. This shows you the approved site plan where you'll see a considerable amount of square footage along the north that has not yet been constructed, and the existing building to the south. You'll also see the parking that has been constructed along the Corporate Road North right-of-way, which would be severely impacted if this variance was not approved. The proposed site plan here shows you the existing building and the 2 proposed buildings, as well as a shade structure for weather coverage for the employees on site and the contractor storage yard. And you'll see the proposed buffer along Corporate Road North. Again, the variance is to allow for the 10-foot overlap into the right-of-way buffer. It typically only allows for 5 feet. This gives you a visual of the buffer in question. The yellow is the FP&L easement, which is 10 foot in depth. The red outline is the 5 foot that remains clear for planting, with the exception, of course, of the driveway. And the purple is the 15-foot buffer that is unencumbered, which will allow us to relocate the required material we can't fit in the 5 foot into the unencumbered area. Again, this shows you the actual area of the FP&L easement along the right-of-way. Variance 2 is again regarding the shrubs, which we are all relocating on site in that same buffer. Conclusion, we have staff support. We are in agreement with the conditions, and there is a condition in the staff report that triggers the installation of the landscape material by date certain. If you have any questions.
Any questions?
No, just one quick comment. I'm not surprised that there are hidden easements throughout the Park of Commerce out there. And I move to adopt a resolution approving item 4A.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Caliendo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? No. Okay, it passes. Moving on to item 5.
Okay, item 5 is ULDC revision. This is a freestanding emergency department. It's a privately proposed revision, and this is phase 2. Zoning Commission originally saw phase 1 in October and voted to recommend initiation. It then went on to the Board of County Commissioners, in which they also agreed to approve the initiation for phase 2. And on December 10th, the Board of County Commissioners approved the request for permission to advertise, and now we are back to the Zoning Commission for you to review and make a recommendation as the Zoning Commission as well as the Land Development Regulation Commission on the proposed changes. This is a privately proposed revision. Would you like a presentation from the applicant?
Any comments?
No.
Yes.
We've looked at this
Yes.
once before.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go through the presentation one more time.
Good morning.
Morning.
Brian Terry with Insight Studio. I'm here. Brian Seymour is here as well. We both represent HCA, who is initiating this amendment, working with really zoning staff. It's kind of a blind spot, kind of like what we discussed last time. Freestanding emergency room departments don't really fit under an urgent care. They're not necessarily medical office. They have to be associated with a hospital. I'll try to keep this very brief. Again, the purpose and intent here is really just to create FSED, freestanding emergency departments, as a use specifically defined within the code. Work it underneath the medical office as there's a few specific criteria that will be tied to it. Again, it's consistent with ACA. It's closely regulated. It has to be associated directly with the hospital. It has to have the same services as a emergency room department at a hospital. Obviously, the difference is there's no long-term care. There's no other departments that you would move from into an ICU unit. If any of those things needed to occur, you would obviously then be transported and moved to an actual hospital where they have the services to provide that. So, really, this is if you think about it in context of as our population and our community continues to grow, the burden and the impacts that has on the emergency room departments at the hospitals that we have is sometimes can be overwhelming. And so this is a means for them to locate that facility in a place where people are living. It can be more convenient. It can be faster to get to. It just doesn't require, and especially for those things that maybe not life-threatening, but certainly you need to go immediately see an emergency room doctor, you have that resource available to you. So that is really the intent here. Again, they have to be, they're 24/7. They're really regulated through ACA and would be consistent with that criteria. So basically, as we talked about, there's really three major changes that we're proposing to the code. Taking the definitions of the urgent care in the ambulatory surgical center, moving those into Article 4, so they kind of all work within the same confines under medical office uses. Sorry, I went too fast. Now I'm going the wrong way. The use classification, obviously identifying that under the medical office use, so that's not just called medical. It's now got FSED as an identifier, and then the parking regulation, as Wendy had mentioned, modifying the table to accommodate for that. These are the strike-through underline changes. I'm sure if you have any specific questions, either myself or staff can try to answer those questions. And again, these are those changes, changing, adding ambulatory center and urgent care, pulling them out of Article 1, moving them into Article 4, adding the definition of freestanding emergency department, and then those specific criteria, including the parking and including some screening that would be associated with any ambulatory drop-off area. And I believe that is it. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Any questions?
Yes. I have two questions. One, it states here that you staff work closely with the applicant with other applicable county agencies. Who did you work with?
Well, we also worked with the health department and the health department attorneys, with the county attorney, planning division, engineering division, fire as well, because there were originally some language that we had in the code relative to the sirens and flashing lights. And after discussion with the fire department, we cannot restrict them from putting their lights and sirens on. So yes, there was multiple agencies that we discussed the proposed revisions with, as well as coordinating with outside county agencies like the health department.
So you can't restrict them from using their lights and their sirens.
Correct.
So these freestanding EDs are generally, where are they generally located? Like not adjacent to property owners associations.
Well,
usually on a corner, like with Publix or.
Yeah, it could be located in wherever a medical office is allowed. So commercial zoning, it could be located in that area. So, and those could typically be adjacent to residential, those shoppings with the appropriate buffers and landscaping. So we would look at compatibility whenever these applications come through, and minimizing adverse impacts. But we definitely don't want to prohibit the fire department from getting somebody to one of these locations when there's an emergency involved.
And with your research and all, about how many trips a day do ambulances come to these freestanding EDs? Maybe the attorney can answer that.
Yeah, they're all over the place. The answer, is this working? Okay. Excuse me. Good morning. For the record, Brian Seymour. I'm attorney for the applicant. The first question, they're actually all over the place. They're not always on corners. Sometimes they're inside of a shopping center. There's Delray Medical Center has one a couple miles from JFK. There's JFK has one a couple miles from Gardens. They're all in different types of locations.
But not generally adjacent to.
They're often adjacent to homes.
Often, yes.
Yes, because they're not actually typically used with ambulances. Statistically, if you do the average, it's a little over one per day on average that would come by ambulance. The firefighters, the first responders, make the decision on where to take somebody. If it's something that is so critical, they have to go to a full-service hospital, then they go to the full-service hospital, which is why you typically don't see them coming to the FSEDs. They're typically more where people drive themselves, or they'll drive a kid, or whatever it might be. I've done that myself. So you don't have a lot of them. They can, on the lights and sirens, they can turn them off. We just can't tell them to turn them off. So it's not typical that they do use them. We just they want to have the optionality if that's something that they needed to do based on where it happens to be when they get into a site. If there's other vehicle stack, if you're near a Publix and it's backed up, they might need to keep it on, that sort of thing. But they do that only if they absolutely need to. So they just need that optionality.
Well, a little over one per day. Where do you get that information from?
The numbers that the numbers, there's a couple, we run a number. So JFK, Palms West, JFK North, all of the HCA hospitals, they have data that runs, they're all part of HCA. HCA has data from what happens at their freestanding EDs, and that data is collected. They keep track of that. That's where that comes from. It's a pretty typical circumstance
From
across the board.
JFK's data?
No.
Oh, no.
From HCA's
HCA.
data, which, by the way, from every other hospital that I represent is pretty consistent.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I just want a clarification. These are 24-hour centers?
Yes, that by statute, they are required to run 24 hours as a freestanding emergency department.
So how does that fit in with our otherwise operational constraints on commercial? I mean, these are going into commercial.
They have the same requirement. So if that building is within 250 feet and they want to operate 24/7, they would have to seek a waiver from the Board of County Commissioners to operate.
And if they are moving into a PUD that already has conditional restrictions on hours of operation,
Then they would have to amend those conditions of approval first before they could go into that location to operate 24/7.
okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of the proposed ULDC revision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And also, as the zoning commission serving as the Land Development Regulation Commission pursuant to Florida statute, we recommend that the proposed ULDC revision is found to be consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, that motion also passes. Come to the end of the regular agenda. Any comments from any directors or county attorney?
No,
Okay, we are.
no comments, just Happy New Year.
Happy New
Motion
Year.
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
It's having a catch in the backyard. It's playing in sandlots or on fields. It's the roar of the crowd